Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my review of the LEGO Indiana Jones set 77013 Escape from the Lost Tomb. As always, this video will include objective and subjective information about this set, along with my final thoughts and opinions at the very end of the video. Let's get into it. If we look at the box, we see quite some stuff happening right away, and to me this gives the impression that yes, this really is a playset. Similarly to the fighter plane chase, we again have the same box art header photo, with on the side some details about the minifigures and features that this set has to offer. Let's go open it up and see exactly what's inside. The opening is at the bottom of the box, by the way, I haven't seen that before. We've got 4 numbered bags, 2 large brick yellow color plates, and a lovely sticker sheet with a whopping 14 stickers. I'm interested to see the results of that, and of course the instruction manual. Let's get building, shall we? To begin with, some objective information about this brand new set, 77013 Escape from the Lost Tomb. It came out on April 1st, 2023, contains exactly 600 pieces and retails for $40 US, the same in euros, and 35 British pounds. This gives you a value of 6 cents per piece, which, I mean, that is wild to me. That seems like a ridiculously good deal on its own. In weight, that is about 530 grams, giving you a price of 7 cents per gram of Lego. It's just insane. It includes 4 brand new minifigures, which are exclusive to this set, and the color palette is shown on screen right now. As for spare parts, you get a bunch, including some little flame pieces. On screen is a quick look at which bags build what, and well, that seems about it when it comes to technicalities. Now first, some context. This set is based on Indiana Jones' Raiders of the Lost Ark from 1981. In particular, the scene where Indy and Marion must escape the Well of Souls, in other words, the Lost Tomb. During the scene, they face various threats such as fire, snakes, and dead people. Throughout the video, we're gonna take a closer look at how exactly they recreated this scene. But first, let's take a look at the minifigs. Marion Ravenwood is our first minifigure, and at first glance we're looking at what I think is a very decent looking minifigure. The most important and special thing about her is her dual molded legs. This basically means they're made out of 2 different colors of plastic rather than the colors being printed on there. You can tell they printed a little bit of her skin tone on the white area, which does look a little bit faded, but that's not too big of a deal because to me I think it's great that they used dual molded legs in the first place. They could have just done white legs. She has long black curly hair, probably my favorite long hair piece LEGO has, and as expected she comes with 2 different facial expressions, one satisfied and the other, well, you can tell she's in distress, that's for sure. The torso printing looks nice and detailed, and the back printing is sadly covered by the hair mostly, because that looks very nice as well. If we compare her to the source material, it's all pretty much there. Her dress being torn off by Indy as he tries to stop the fire is done nicely with the dual molded legs. The details on the dress do match what you see in the movie, along with the style of her hair. She of course also comes with the torch that she is using to scare off the snakes. Sweet figure, onto the next one. Of course, the star of the movie, Indiana Jones. This is not the same figure we see in the fighter plane chase, for he has no tie and comes with his iconic bag piece. This figure also has the brand new hat piece with hair coming from underneath. Again, has 2 different faces, one a little bit confused and the other just more satisfied or neutral, I guess. But I really think the bag is what makes this one special. The color matches very nicely with his holster, whip and hat. We do have the same back printing though. One tiny little downside about the bag is that the arm can't freely move anymore. I don't really mind, but it's something I should point out. Similarly to other new Indiana Jones figures, his whip piece is very flexible, allowing you to play around with it. So far, I'd say this is my favorite version of Indiana Jones. Now on to the next one, that being Sallah. He is featured earlier in the scene and also looks pretty much spot on. He only has one facial expression, but for this figure I particularly like the way the printing quality on the torso looks. The lines appear to be a little bit thinner and more detailed than the others, which I really appreciate. He doesn't have leg printing, but since in the movie his trousers are pretty much one color, that is totally acceptable. Honestly, I didn't expect to like this figure quite so much, but this may be one of my favorites from the new wave. He just looks very good and it's something different. Finally, we have the brand new Mummy minifigure. The very first thing that stood out to me was the back of his head. There isn't a second face, but we do have some extra detail on there. And the quality of the rest of his print is pretty much what you'd expect. Both on the front and back it's nice and detailed, and you can tell by the color of his eyes that this truly is a dead man. I heard a bunch of people complain about the lack of arm printing, but it kind of makes sense to me as I'm guessing they're just his bare arms and are therefore not covered with bandages. So yeah, I think it's a pretty neat figure. Now let's finally get into the actual set. To start this off, I want to mention I was pleasantly surprised by the fun building experience that this set offers. I didn't really know what to expect going into this, but I had a ton of fun putting this together. This is the kind of set where you build a bunch of separate elements that you slowly put together. You start with the base of the tomb, after which you build separate elements like the ark, the two giant statues, and the little archway. It's really satisfying to put these big pieces together, and I think for a Lego set, this is very important. The model has a footprint of 28 studs wide and 27 studs deep, and the measurements are shown on screen now. As for the design, let's first talk about all the elements and details that were put into this model. The most iconic and good-looking part of the set are of course the Anubis jackal kind of statues. Technically in the movie there were 4 of those, but since this is only a small portion of the tomb, 2 are included. The black and vibrant yellow color go together very well and makes them stand out from the rest of the build. They beautifully capture the muscles and other details, which I think is amazing given the size they had to work with. I also think the inclusion of these stickers was a great call to give it that extra spice. You can open and close their mouths and the statues can spin around 360 degrees. The back looks a bit standard, but you're not really gonna see that anyway because, you know, it's the back. The play features I'm gonna touch on in a sec. Similarly to the scene this is based on, the ground is covered with a bunch of snakes that Indy and Marion have to fight off. They didn't quite match the amount of snakes, but from a technical standpoint it makes sense for them not to include like 1,000 snakes. Besides, if you really want that, you can always just order some online. The candles seen during the movie are also included, and there are even some snakes emerging from the walls. Some details I personally really loved and hadn't noticed actually on the box are these 2 sarcophaguses. Sarcophaguses. Bloody hell. They are kind of hidden on the box art, but I think in their simplicity they look fantastic and the detail on the stickers is great to me. Then there is, of course, the Ark of the Covenant, the whole thing the movie is about. I think it was a genius move to use these pieces as the angel wings. I mean, it's genius. This is obviously so small that I'm just surprised how great it still looks. And I like the golden mix with yellow because it just gives it some more color nuance. It of course has handles for the minifigs to hold it. Throughout this set there's a bunch of stickers used to add the Egyptian kind of glyphs on the walls along with other details. There is quite a number of them, but I think it's justified because they do look great. You can tell some serious effort was put into the design of these stickers, and there's no denying that it does elevate the look. Similarly to the movie and the older set this is based on, we get some little Easter eggs like C-3PO and R2-D2 from Star Wars. On the back wall there are some little nudges to Lego Bionicle and Lego Exoforce, and in the center you can see a little skull based on the 4th Indiana Jones movie, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. There are also some cracks in the wall which makes it look a bit older and decayed. I really like that. If we move to the back of the model, there's another small section where later in the scene they escape through. More on that in the play feature section of this video. On the back there you can see a very spooky little sticker giving you the impression that yes, it is very dark in here with a bunch of creepy skeletons and mummies lying around just as in the movie. The backside doesn't look fantastic from a design standpoint, it's a bit messy. Later you'll see there's a big play feature here, meaning you are going to be seeing the back of this model quite a lot. As someone who likes to display their sets, sets though, this doesn't really matter at all. And that seems about as far as the design goes, I guess. It's pretty clear to me that this set is mainly, and I say mainly, not only, aimed at children, because there's a bunch of very fun play features included. The biggest and most obvious one is that Anubis on the right has a little handle, which makes the statue collapse straight into the wall behind it. This is pretty much exactly how it happens in the movie, and they absolutely nailed the resemblance to that. Once the statue crashes into the wall drops down, allowing for Indy and Marion to enter the second room, through which they later escape. The wall has a rubbery element on the back, which kind of breaks the fall, making sure you don't damage any Lego bricks. Overall, the action is quite smooth, mainly because they used both black and light grey connector pieces, so there is some friction there. It doesn't really drop full force on the ground, it's also pushed by the jackal statue. I am honestly impressed with this. Based on what I saw in the box, I didn't really think it would be this smooth, but they really did do a great job at bringing this to life. Once Indy and Marion enter the second room, Marion is being jump scared by the mummy minifigure that drops down in her face. It is a very simple mechanism, not much to say about that, but it works properly and is a nice way to recreate that little scene. Another final little feature is the shaft on the left. If you put a snake in this grey compartment and use the handle on the side, a snake will drop from the wall. Once again, this also happens in the movie. Honestly, great attention to detail here. These play features are lovely, but I do have one little issue there. If you pick this set up without thinking too much about it, the jackal statue will drop down. It really sits quite loosely due to the mechanism used in the collapse function. For me personally, it doesn't matter because I'm very focused on displaying my Lego set, so I won't be picking this up regularly. However, if you're someone that moves it around a lot and in general just plays with it, chances are it's gonna constantly fall down. Apart from this one element though, the rest of the build is quite strong. On the side, they use Technic pieces to increase the sturdiness even more. But still, as a whole, that statue and the back of the wall, it's a pretty big part of it. Overall, I just really love this set. At first, when they got announced, I didn't think I would like this one so much, but having it in hand, it's actually pretty fantastic. I just really like the vibe and aesthetic, I guess.
Pros and cons.
Like I keep saying, I love, really love the design. I think they did a fantastic job at giving the correct style and vibe to this. It is packed with really fun play features that work very, very well. And I mean, of course, it seems like a ridiculously good deal given the amount of bricks and minifigures, and I mean, it's still Indiana Jones, it's an IP. There are, however, a few very tiny things that hold it back from being perfect. In general, nothing is ever perfect, but in this particular case, the looseness of the statue on the right is a bit of a drawback if you're someone that interacts a lot with a set. I am also not entirely sure if the handle was necessary in the first place. I feel like you could just knock it over by hand and it wouldn't really need a mechanism. This would also make it look a bit nicer as both statues would have looked identical. I bet, though, the reason they included this is to make sure it's clear that there's a play feature there. And that is honestly a totally valid point, especially for someone that hasn't built the set themselves or doesn't know anything about it. Then the tiny clips used to keep the snakes in place are grey, and I think they would have looked a bit better if they match the color of the ground. I do really believe there are production reasons for these kinds of decisions, so I don't regard them as important issues at all. Then finally, for people like me who like to display their Lego sets, the section in the back could be a problem if your shelves are very shallow. It sticks out pretty far, so you need to have some space behind it in order for it to look nice and to fit. Just something to think about if you're gonna purchase this set. I'm a very happy customer and a very happy fan. I haven't built the Temple of the Golden Idol just yet, but I think that these 3 sets may just become some of my favorite Lego sets overall. But that's also because I'm probably just a very big fan of Indiana Jones. If you liked this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell not to miss a single video, and then I hope I'll see you in my next review video.